I'm Sales Team Turnaround Specialist Jeremy DeMerchant, and each week I bring sales leaders like you experts and insights that will help you level up your leadership, motivate like a master, and ultimately crush your comp plan. If it's time to raise the bar on your team's performance, then it's time for Sales Team Rescue. Welcome to Sales Team Rescue, episode number 124. I'm your host, Jeremy DeMerchant, and today I have a special guest with me. John Hoskins founded Level 5 Selling in June of 2016, a sales management consultancy focused on developing frontline sales leaders as masterful coaches of their sales team. John began his career as an account executive with Xerox Learning Systems and has held a variety of sales leadership roles and ultimately became Director of U.S. Sales Operations. Next, John joined Omega Performance, a bank consulting firm, as EVP Sales and Marketing. And in 1990, together with two partners, he co-founded Advantage Performance Group and The Real Learning Company, which grew to a national network serving over 300 clients. Stockholm-based BTS Group AB acquired this business in September of 2006. And so today, John continues to support the sales and marketing efforts of Level 5's partner network, doing research and developing new intellectual property. John, welcome to Sales Team Rescue.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate your inviting me to participate today and get to know you better.
Absolutely. So I want to dive right in, guys. For those of you that want to be a guest on Sales Team Rescue, I am happy to accept bribes, and John bribed me by sending a copy of his book to me. It wasn't really a bribe. It just made my research easier, so thank you very much, John. And I got to tell you, I was extremely impressed. So there's lots of great sales content out there, but I think the best way to describe the book, and I'll hold it up again, it's called Level 5 Coaching System: How Sales Leaders Are Developing Preeminent Sales Teams. And on the back of the book, so I'm always curious to see who gets pulled into the mix to give feedback, and I want to see what names I recognize. And the top one at the back of this book is Tom Hopkins. Now, back in the day, in this case, 2001, I believe I went through a Tom Hopkins training. And it's interesting because your name actually is very similar to his. I thought, oh, all right, John Hoskins, Tom Hopkins. Maybe you guys are just, meant to be in this industry together. But what he says on the back of this book is, he says, selling is both an art and a science. Level 5 selling puts much of the science aspect of selling into layman's terms, providing a clear understanding of how to sell well. And I couldn't have said it better myself, which is why I didn't. We'll leave it to Tom to say. But tell us about how this came to be. I know a little bit of your backstory because I've been through the book, but give the audience a little bit more, other than the basic intro that we gave. How did you get here? How did you become this guy who is essentially changing the world with, I'm going to call it, a simplified sales system, and simplified in the best ways? I don't like complexity. I'm a Jim Rohn fan. I keep it simple. And this feels like you were able to include a lot of information in this book, but without it feeling heavy. Like, it was easy to consume. So how did you go from that career that we just kind of talked about in the intro to creating this? I want to call it a movement.
Well, that'd be great. I'll take that and appreciate it. I'm flattered with your response, because I know that you have read a lot of sales books. You've written your own sales book, and you've been in sales and sales leadership a long time. So that's great credibility. So, having spent 40 years in the sales consulting world, starting with Xerox Learning Systems, actually in Toronto, Don Mills, I carried the bag and called on sales leaders and sales trainers. And my wife is Canadian. I met my wife in Toronto, and we had a summer home. We live in Scottsdale. We had a summer home in Vancouver, British Columbia, in West Van, Thunder Ave. And it was summer of 16, and I, said to my wife, I think I'm going to write a book. And she said, oh, yeah, sure. Okay, fine. So I started scribbling things down, and got it done. Used a writing coach, and that's, by the way, that's how Tom Hopkins got involved, because fortunately the writing coach I found was Tom Hopkins' writing coach. So
Ooh,
that was a real big win. And
wow.
long story short is, I had no idea that this was going to turn into what it is today. Um, so phones started ringing, emails came in. People said, I love this model of how you suggest people should sell. How can I get my sales force to sell like that? And of course, my first response was, oh gosh, I'll build a sales training program. And about a day later, I said, don't do that. Don't do that. You've done that for 40 years. You've seen the 2-day PSS and the 3-day Miller-Hyman strategic selling and the spin selling and all the others. And you know what happens after the 2 days? Well, 30 days later, people pretty much forget everything that they were told and go back to their old habits. And I said, the way you really want to develop an outstanding salesperson and team is through coaching. And that frontline sales leader, I learned more from my frontline sales leaders at Xerox than I ever did by going through training programs. And I was selling the training programs. In some respects, I may be guilty of malpractice for 40 years, but that epiphany led me to say, write a system, put together a system that will help sales leaders sustain over time development of salespeople. And it's a simple concept, rather than an event, it's a system. Rather than a 2-day thing, it's an ongoing thing. It's just like if I want to learn how to play golf and I go take a lesson for an hour and I never practice and I never do anything else, and I never go to the range, all I do is go out and play, I don't get any better. In fact, I might even get worse. But if I do all those things that professionals do in all other professions, I'm going to get better. So
Well, and
that's a story.
yeah, well, what I love about this system is that you say, like, straight up, if you've worked with other selling systems, other programs, whatever, spin selling, in my part of the woods, Sandler sales is a big deal. But no matter what structure you have, the level 5 selling, level 5 coaching system works, because exactly, it's not a training. It's a system that essentially you set on top of what you're already doing, and it just makes you that much better. And for me, that's what intrigues me the most, because for me, I'm a sales coach at heart. I tried to put the label of sales trainer on myself, and I really struggle, because I like to be in the moment trying to figure out what a certain person wants, not try to assume what an entire industry wants. And so that's why I found that I love coaching, because I can be in the moment in this and to help right there and then. But I've always struggled with developing a quote unquote training. So I love that about this. Oh, I've got some background dogs. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So with the system, so who was this designed for? When you put all this together, as a structure, as a book, who was the ideal audience at the time when this started?
Well, frontline sales leaders, obviously the leaders of those leaders, and our main contact is Chief Revenue Officer, because in order to get a system that's sustainable, you need air cover from that senior sales leader to hold the managers accountable and responsible for coaching. In our research, what we found is that most sales leaders would like to be able to coach more, but they are the manager in the middle and they get distracted. It's like ADHD. They're on the new product launch team. They're going to be part of the team that's hosting the national sales meeting. There's a new compensation project underway, and they've been pulled into that initiative. And lo and behold, the finance department's called them, and they want to come up with a new billing system. And they have all these people pulling them in all different directions. So what we try to do is make job one coaching, and all the other stuff is ancillary. And sometimes what we have to do is have that senior sales leader come down and say, look, I'm going to remove these things from your responsibility because I want you focused on three critical things: recruiting and retention of existing people and new people. I want you training people, and I want you out coaching people. And we talk about coaching in three domains. So there's coaching call quality. That is the most important thing because sales calls lead to opportunities, and opportunities go into the pipeline. And when you look at forecast accuracy, it's like Six Sigma. It's garbage in, garbage out. And so you got these things in your pipeline that have been there for 3 months and you're wondering why they're not closing. Well, if you go back to the call quality, you're probably going to find the problem there. So there's coaching call quality, there's coaching account strategy and sales methodology. Now you've got an existing opportunity in the pipeline. You need to move that through the buying decision with your customer and advance the sale. And that's a coaching opportunity. And then the final one is kind of interesting to us. We found that a lot of people spend a lot of time doing this, inadvertently maybe, and we call it universal coaching. And universal coaching is, Jeremy's 120% of plan, but the back shop just called and they say he's toxic and they don't want to work with him. Well, now as Jeremy's manager, I have to have a coaching conversation. What does that sound like, right? And somebody said something to me the other day, Jeremy, that I really found insightful. And you're always learning. He said, everybody talks about coaching as something like it's something you do to someone. It's not something you do to someone. It's something you do with someone in a collaborative way. And you pass along your expertise through the questions you ask, not through telling people what to do. So,
and I want to touch on that because that was a huge aha moment for me. So I've lived in this, like I've been in sales for, I don't know, man, I say almost 30 years now, I guess. But I've always considered myself a strategist. And sometimes a coach, I guess. Like I think between training and coaching, I fall more in the coaching, but I've for years considered myself a strategist because I just like to tell people, this is what you need to do. Go do it. And I'm embarrassed to say on my show right here that it wasn't until I went through your book that I had the epiphany that even though it might be easier for me to just tell somebody what to do, that doesn't train their thinking. It only trains their immediate behavior. And that was like such a light bulb moment for me. Because sure, I can go tell people what to do, but it's the same, teach a man how to fish, right? Like I think the biggest challenge in all of sales and coaching and training and in everything is how do you teach somebody how to think? Because that's the problem solving. That's, as you put it, the level 5. How do you get in there and be such a huge asset to a company? And I'm going to paraphrase your description of the level 5, but how do you make yourself such an asset to a company that you go in and from day one, you're adding value. And as you build that relationship, you become such an important asset that even if your contact person leaves or moves on or there's some kind of transition, you're so valuable that even if somebody comes in and does the quote unquote clean sweep as they take over the department, the core company won't let you go because you bring too much value.
Yeah.
And that's, I've just never thought of it that way. Like I would like to think that I've been that level 5 in some instances, but definitely not all the time. In fact, when you were describing level 1 in the book, I went, I've been that guy. Oh, because I have been. And I don't want to, give everything that's in the book because I want our listeners and viewers to go and read it. Because it's just phenomenal. And I want to challenge everybody to go through it and identify where you're at. And the question, you ask in the book is how many of your calls or how often are you at a level 1 versus a level 2, level 3, level 4? And how often do you really get to a level 5? That level 5 being that upper echelon that makes you, I want to say unstoppable, but I don't want to put my words into the description of your structure here. But I do have a question about it. So do you find that when someone gets to a level 5, they own that identity, becomes part of their identity, and they're consistent? Or do you find that most people truly fluctuate based on their emotional, what I call emotional discretion, which is a fancy way to say how they're feeling that day?
Well, being a level 5 sales representative and making a level 5 sales call are kind of two things that you can aspire to. The Having a level 5 account often comes into conversations that we have, because there are certain relationships or accounts that want that kind of relationship, where they might call you if you were proximate to the account and say, we have a meeting this afternoon, Jeremy, could you come down and spend an hour with us? We're wrestling with something about this new product launch, and you're considered a trusted advisor, someone that they want to have in that meeting. And frankly, Neil Rackham once said that a salesperson who makes a quality call, if you went and interviewed the buyer afterwards, the buyer would say, I would have paid for that call. That was so good. I would have paid to have that person there. So you can think of level 5 as executing a level 5 call, being a level 5 sales representative, which we call the value creator, and having a level 5 relationship with an account. And by the way, in a call, what you'll see if you go out and observe calls, which I've always loved, I'm a behavior observation, maybe a voyeur or something of sales people, but
Yeah.
The thing you see is that calls go up and down. You can start a call out at a professional visitor level, move right into being a technical teller because you start to spray and pray when the guy says, I don't have a lot of time. And then how do you navigate yourself to level 5? And maybe they bring you all the way back down, because 67% of the time a buyer's going to ask about price on a call. They're going to move you right to level 2, the price peddler. And so you need to know how to navigate out of that. And as a frontline sales leader, if you're observing those things, you need to know how to help that person move dynamically through those levels. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I think you did such a great job in the book as well, describing a character that links to each level. Because I can't stand the price peddler. I'd rather be selling the highest price item in a market than trying to battle for the fastest path to zero, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's been times, like, I've been at every single one of the levels at some point in time, and I wish I lived at a level 5. I can't say that I do consistently, but normally when somebody's watching, I'm a level 5, and that's what I found.
Okay.
And that's actually why I love the coaching, is because I find that people react in two different ways when you're coaching. One, they go, oh no, and they act paranoid and get weird, and they don't perform their best. Or you've got someone who is likes the spotlight, and they're like, hey, watch this. And I become the watch this guy when somebody's watching me. And so that gets me to perform at a level 5. For me, it's training and discipline to get myself to be there without somebody watching me. So
Well, that's cool, because having post-call debriefed many calls, thousands of calls in 40 years, and a lot of times we advocate that the first thing you do in that post-call debriefing is have the sales rep, after you provide some positive reinforcement of things you saw, so you anchor those in, you have the sales rep analyze the call. And a lot of reps will start out by just beating themselves up. Oh gosh, that didn't go the way I wanted to. When you're watching me, it's just not the same Jeremy when you're there. If I was there with that doctor by myself, it would have been a whole different conversation. And you have to sort of say, well, look, let's start with the merits here. What is it that you did that you really thought you did well? Let's talk about strengths and see if we can get those brought into play intentionally on all calls. And that to me is sort of an interesting thing when you say you like to be in the spotlight, you like to be watched, and then you shine.
Yeah, a little bit of ego, I think, drives that, but I think that's one of the few cases when the ego can help. So I want to give a clear plug for the book. I know we've been talking about the book the whole time, but for those of you watching and listening, we want you to go to level5selling.com. That's 5 spelled F-I-V-E, not the number 5, level5selling.com. What else can you tell the audience? Like, I want everybody that's listening and watching to this to go buy the book. Are there any other resources that you've got on the website, or like I see you've got like download an overview when it talks about the selling model?
Yeah. So, this is the book you're referring to.
Yep.
I actually wrote this book first, and this is the one that is for salespeople.
Okay.
So then the coaching system came next, and then clients came and said, tell us more about coaching universal challenges, right? And this is the level 5 sales leader. And this one just came out. This is level 5 coaching system or coaching communication skills.
Gotcha.
All 4 are on Amazon.
Beautiful. All right. Then
Yeah.
I will be picking up the other ones then, because.
Well, I'll send them to you. I'm going to send them to you. No worries.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we could have them. You're helping me.
Well, you'll see them in my background here in future videos. Then perfect.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I just think it's just so valuable. So, guys, go pick up the books, whatever one's most appropriate to you. I listened to the level 5 coaching system in Audible, and then another chapter in the physical book here for the coaching systems. It's phenomenal stuff. And even if you are convinced that your sales is 100% bang on, one, you're delusional. Stop that. Because you can always get better. But whether you think you're rocking it or you think you've got a long way to go, I challenge you to pick up the books and just take a read through and simply understanding the difference. The way that John has outlined these 5 styles or approaches or avatars, or as you mentioned, could be the person, could be the client. Just understanding the difference makes all the difference in the world from how you can grade yourself. You don't need to be perfect, but one, you'll feel really good when you realize you're level 4 or level 5. And if you're living at level 1, it gives you permission to change, to shift, to grow, to get better. So for me, that's what I really love. But I already mentioned the simplicity, but it was great. And and I like the simple, like it's not an overly thick book. You don't need 3 days to go through this thing. The level 5 selling system, I went for a drive last night and downloaded the Audible version, and it was, 2 hours on the audiobook. So very easily consumed, but just this aha moment. And I mentioned this, John, to you before we hit record, but I want to share with the audience. I found myself talking about the book today with a client, and I was just using the words that John used to describe his level 5 sales professional, and the excitement that came over my client's face and everything. He just got so pumped up. He's like, "This is what I've been trying to tell people. Oh my God." And he got very excited because when you he does level 5 selling, and he tries to train that in people, but he is also the person that says, just do this and do this. And he's never been able, in my experience with him anyway, been able to properly describe that role to the level that it deserves. And so when I said that level 5 person is someone that, you bring in as outside counsel, and they're so valuable to you that even when there's change in roles within the company, you can't get rid of the salesperson. It's not based on one contact they have. It's based on the value that they're creating in the company. And he lit up. So this is legitimate. I don't know how much more I can say about it. I feel like I'm just fanboying over here, but this is what happens when somebody sends me a book, guys. But no, I think it's great. So you can get that on Amazon. You can get that at level5selling.com, I'm guessing. Hang on, let me bring that back up. There we go. So I want to jump in now to the lightning round. And so I'm going to hit you with 4 quick questions, and we're going to see how creative the answers that we get. So let's begin the lightning round. All right. Question number 1. We all know that coffee is for closers. What is your favorite coffee or comparable drink?
So unfortunately, I've been drinking Diet Pepsi since I was a kid. I can do 6 cans a day.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm sure doctors would tell you I'm nuts, but I remember, when I met my wife in Toronto, I had an apartment on Davisville, and she opened the fridge one time and she looked and she said, "What is this?" And I had like 24 cans of Diet Pepsi, and that was it in the fridge. So I still do that. I've converted to a protein shake in the morning, but soon thereafter, in my Yeti cup, there will be Diet Pepsi.
I feel like I should get Yeti to sponsor an episode because this is I got a Yeti cup with my wife's cricketed logo on it here, but yeah,
Oh,
these Yetis are amazing. Like it's actually changed how I drink coffee. I used to go through 8 cups a day, and it's just black coffee. But now with the Yeti, it's like 3 Yetis full, but it stays warm, so I don't feel like I'm. You get that last sip of a cold coffee, and you're just disappointed with life.
exactly.
So it's kind of like if your diet Pepsi is warm, right? You're like, ugh, okay, well let's get something
Not
fresh.
good. No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, we're getting off track here. Excellent. So question number 2 of the lightning round is: what's one book or movie you'd recommend to a sales professional or sales leader, other than the level 5 selling?
Oh, that's a tough one. Um, well, one movie that stands out to me. I grew up in the magazine subscription sales business. I started selling door to door when I was 11. So I've knocked on a lot of doors. Then I moved into instant sales in the phone room. And there's a movie called Tin Man. I don't know if you've ever seen it,
I haven't.
but
I've heard of it.
it's about aluminum siding tin salespeople, aluminum siding salespeople. And you see all the bad things that give sales a bad reputation. So that's one that I think it's very funny. I think Danny DeVito's in it, and
Okay.
he is just unbelievable. And then of course Glenn Ross,
Right.
that's
Coffees for
always be
closers.
closing, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I
What
love
do you
it.
say? Leads are for losers or something? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Second
Yeah.
prize, second prize, a set of steak knives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually took my sales team at Xerox one time to Broadway to see it live on Broadway.
Really nice.
Yeah, it was a cool trip we did.
See, the way you're describing Tin Man is how I think about Boiler Room. If you've ever seen that,
Oh, oh yeah.
of
Oh,
course.
I lived in Boyle.
I suppose, yeah, exactly. It's like this is going to show you all the bad things, but there's actually some really good core lessons that you can learn from it if you ignore the fact that they're being really scammy.
Smile and dial.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Awesome. Now, John, who is someone that you would consider to be a mentor in your life?
Well, I have 2 older brothers, one who passed away recently, not from COVID, but from just old age. And my brothers have always been mentors to me. But I've had great business partners. The partners I had at Real Learning and Advantage were fantastic partners. My current partners, fantastic. I mean, I've just been fortunate in picking the right partners in life. And even my wife, I mean, we've been together for 50 years. So
Wow.
picking the right partners. I mean, I love to have somebody you can bounce stuff off of.
Do you have any tips? Because I'll be honest, I didn't even find my wife until I was 38. So it
Oh,
took me a while. Um, and so, what tips do you have for like business
you're,
partners, for example?
you're, you're not gonna like this answer, but I hired my wife when I was in Toronto. So that's how we met. Um,
I've been there.
you know, quite frankly, I think it really comes down to values. You find somebody who shares the same values you do, and that cuts through a lot of need for policies and all sorts of other things. I mean, our values here at level 5, the first one is golden rule: treat everybody the way you want to be treated. you know Second one is abundant thinking. Like, there's plenty of everything for everybody. Like, be prepared to share with others. And the third one is grow. If you don't grow, if you're not learning every day. I'm 71 and I'm still learning. I learned that thing about coaching the other day from a colleague, and I just thought that was golden. It's not something you do to someone, it's something you do with someone. It's collaborative. And that's where the coaching communication skills book comes in, because you need those communication skills to manage the agenda of a coaching call.
I love it. I love it. So, last question in the lightning round. What is the strangest thing you do in your daily routine to keep you on your game? I should say to keep you at level 5.
Yeah, I'm a level 5. Strange. Gosh, these are tough. I'm a big rehearser.
Okay.
So if I have a sale, I join our. We have 25 channel partners, sales partners around the globe that remarket our services. And if I'm called into a call, I'm a big pre-call planner rehearser guy. Like, I'm over prepared for a call, because you just never know, where things are going to go.
So walk me through that.
I don't know if it's strange.
Well,
but,
I mean, if to someone who's not not pre-call planning and not preparing, it probably seems strange, but I think it should be the standard. So like, walk us through what some of that looks like, because I know you talked a lot about one of the examples you give in the book with level 5 is, you jump on the call and you can actually reference their last quarter's earning call, for example, because you've listened to it. Which that point in and of itself was like, my mind was blown, because I have never thought to do that. Like, that point alone will probably make me an extra $250,000 in my career or more, just for that one point. So tell us, like, in real life for you, what does pre-call planning look like for you?
Well, we have a discipline. If someone asks me to join them on the call, I say, well, I need our pre-call plan. Fill out a pre-call plan, and we're going to review it, and then we're going to have a pre-call briefing where we're going to go over that plan, and we're going to decide on the roles and signals. We're going to anticipate. Well, first of all, we have a call opening model, which we call BOAT, B-O-A-T. So it's, what's the background here? How did we get here today? Here are my objectives for the call today. Do you have any alternative objectives, A, that you would like to accomplish from this call? And I understand we have about an hour. Is that correct? And you nail that real quick. And I think people appreciate it, because they think, wow, this person's prepared. They've thought through what it is they want to do. They ask me what I want to do, and they've confirmed the amount of time we're going to take. Then we go into the questions we want to ask. That's the key. Planning the questions you want to ask, anticipating the questions the client might ask and what your answers will be, making sure that you are clear about the points you want to make based on your pre-call research. And you mentioned, public companies all have 10Ks, and in 10Ks, there's a page called risk factors. And if you read the risk factors and you understand those and you mention them, you are moving toward level 5 very quickly, because that is what everybody in the organization is doing in order to mitigate the risk.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah. So, we're disciplined about. We eat our own cooking. Mm-hmm. You have to. You're disingenuous if you don't.
Right. Exactly. That's phenomenal. Wow. I think that the level, I'm just so impressed with the level 5. I'm like, it just brings so many things in that I hadn't considered. Guys, like, if you're watching this, you're listening to this, go get the book, go read the book. It won't take you long. But like I said, there was one point in here that'll easily make me $250,000 more in my career going forward because of that one point. And it's probably going to be more than that, because when you're listening to quarterly earnings calls, or digging into a company's risk factors, you're playing at a different level, and so the things that you're selling them, depending on your products and services, are probably going to be a much more significant sale. So the revenue you generate is going to be a lot more. And I've seen teams that they play the volume game. Let's get as many emails out or calls out as you can, but they don't give it any attention. And then there's the other side where nobody wants to send an email or make a call until they've done all the research. So it's a balance. So what I've told my team, one of my teams, just since this morning after finishing the book, I said, look, you do your outreach, that's great, but the second you get agreement for a meeting, you're going to go level 5. I need you to do the research. I need you to know the company as good or better than the person you're meeting with, because that's the only way we're going to add value. So
yeah.
This is going to sound a little melodramatic, but I think you changed my life, John. Level 5. It's a game changer.
Well, you're a great sales guy, and I'm really flattered because I can tell you've been in the business a long time and have seen a lot of things. So I really appreciate your feedback and take it to heart.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. So thank you so much for being here. We actually went longer than a normal episode because I'm totally fanboying, but I'm not even ashamed of it.
Okay.
It's been phenomenal. So John, thank you so much. Again, find John and his book and his books, plural, and his system at level5selling.com. You can buy the books there or buy them on Amazon. But they're all there with links. You got some resources. Just check it out. And is there anything else that you want to make sure we share with the audience, John?
Well, I mean, happy to talk to anybody free, John at Level 5 Selling, and tell you more about what we do. We're always looking for new reseller partners. So if there are people that are, former VPs of sales who run sales organizations themselves and they have their own private practice and want to represent the Level 5 coaching system, we're happy to chat about that as well.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Always be recruiting.
That's right.
Always be recruiting.
I love it. Excellent. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us on Sales Team Rescue. Greatly appreciate your time and your amazing experience and knowledge and the system, and just phenomenal. And
thanks, Jeremy.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening, those of you watching, do me a favor. If you're listening on the podcast, give us a rating, give us some feedback. I love 5 stars, but I like the truth. And luckily to date, those have been the same thing. But I also want to make sure that I know what each and every one of you want to hear. If you're watching this on YouTube or live on Facebook, give that a like. If it's YouTube, give that a subscribe and share this episode. Who needs to hear about the Level 5 selling system and the Level 5 coaching system? Who needs to level up their game? If you share this episode and a friend of yours gets the book, reads it, and then goes and closes a $250,000 deal because of the impact the book has had, they're going to thank you. So share. Sharing is caring, especially about your friends. John, you're a total rock star. Thanks so much. And for those of you that want to check out the replay of this episode and previous episodes, go to salesteamrescue.com. And if you'd like to book a meeting with yours truly to see if your team is ready to grow a sales team, or even just launch a sales team, that link is also at salesteamrescue.com. Remember, catch John at level5selling.com, and we will see you next week on Sales Team Rescue. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining me. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find more episodes and a link to join our online community over at salesteamrescue.com. If you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe and give the show a review to help us reach more sales leaders like you. If you'd like our support in creating your own high-performance sales team, book a call with us at salesteamrescue.com.